welcome back. Here we are to continue exploring React and practicing with props and state. How did you do on the last challenge? So the last challenge was to create a button that adds a new counter, right? So let's give that a try, right? So essentially all we need to do is add a new value to this list, right? Again, since this is a list, we'll have to copy it and then push a new value in and then call set state, okay? So I've got the button here. Maybe I'll add an on click to the button, and then I'll put a function in there, and I'll add a return there to make it a little easier to read. And what we'll do is we'll just do const new count equals, square brackets count, right? So we've created a copy of the list of counters, and now we'll say new count dot push, and I'll push a new value. So I'll just push a 0 in there, okay? And then our last step is to update the count, right? So, or update state. So we'll say set count, and then the new value will be new count, okay? So let's try it. So let me refresh the page here, right? So now we're kind of back in our default, and if I click add counter, I get a new counter at the bottom. Right? If I click add counter, I get another new counter. And every counter can have its own separate value, right? And then we get the total of all the counts here, okay? So there you go. Let's try another challenge, right? So that's working pretty good. Oops, I keep hitting save in the browser window, right? So that's working pretty good. What if we wanted to be able to delete a counter, right? So maybe every counter has a delete button, and if you click the delete button, maybe it's up here next to the label, right? If you click the delete button, then that counter gets removed. So that's like a trickier problem, okay? Well, you can stop the video now and give it a try on your own, and then we'll cover it in the next section. Okay, so how did you do on that? You know, how far did you get? You may have only gotten part way on that problem. That's a kind of a hard one, right? So let's give it a try, right? So here's what we're going to do. First of all, let's go to counter so we can see where that button ends up, right? So I'm going to go in here, and I've got my label at the top, and maybe I'll put the button. I'm going to actually put the button inside the label. I think that's okay. So I'll put the button here. And we'll make this delete. How about, right? So now everybody's got a delete button there, okay? And then this button's going to have a a function like an on click like this, right? But then it's going to have a function that it can call, but that function is going to have to modify state in the parent. So that means we're going to have to pass a function down like we did here with decrement and increment, okay? So let's leave this button here for now, and then we'll go back to app.js and we'll set up our delete situation, okay? So I've got the counter here, and I've got the increment and the decrement props, right? And so now let's add a delete, okay? Actually, maybe I'll do it this way. I'll put it on top here. How about up here above, right? So between label, value, and increment, right? It'd be easier to find it, right? So I'll put delete up here, right? And then I'll put the curly brackets, and we'll do another function. And in this function, what we're going to do is we're going to copy. It's the same process, right? Copy the counts, and we'll do count, right? And what we need to do is we need to delete one of the values now, okay? And the value is going to be the value that's at index I. So what we'll do is we'll say new count dot splice, okay? So the splice method, I'm hovering over it, and it kind of shows me the hints right here, the code hints. So it gives me, we call it an array, and then it tells me that the first parameter is the start index, comma, the second parameter, which is optional because of the question mark, right, is the delete count. Okay, so that says like, hey, how many items do you want to delete? And this is the index that you're starting at. Okay, so I'm going to start at index I and delete one item from count, or from new count, right? Okay, and then our last step is to set state. So we'll do set count, and we'll set the count to the new count. Okay, so there we go. Let's save that and then refresh in the browser and see what happens, right? So I'm going to delete this first count with a count of 4. Oh wait, I forgot. We need to actually call the delete function. No wonder it doesn't work, right? Okay, so let's fix that. So our last step is to actually use this, this function. So I'm going to go into count, and delete was set on a prop, so we'll deconstruct it. And then over here, oh, you know what? I forgot. Delete is actually a keyword in JavaScript. I totally forgot about that. Let's do delete count. I'm going to change the prop to delete count, okay, like that, right? And then over here, I'm going to use delete count, okay? Sorry, it's a property in JavaScript that doesn't like that, right? Okay, cool. So now that we solved that one, right? Now inside our button right here, I'm going to choose, I'm going to set up on click. And in here, we'll call a function, and then we'll call the delete count function from inside that function. Okay? There we go. And actually, you know, we could shorten all this too. I just realized I could just shorten this to delete count, right? And this could just be increment. Right? We can just give that function to our on click, and that makes our code even shorter and cleaner. Okay, so I'll just put delete count here, and that's the same thing as wrapping it in a function. So we'll click here. Oh, the 4 count is deleted. The 0 count is deleted. Let's delete this one too. So that's 0 counters, and then I'll add a couple new counters and increment them. Right? So that's actually, you know, for being such a simple idea, this is actually a fairly complicated app, right? You know, we're sharing state across multiple components. We're passing state down to child components as props, and we're passing functions down to those children, so those children can call the function to modify values stored in the parent. Okay, so anyway, so study this example. Think of other ways that you could modify this. You could add a style sheet. You could maybe change the value, like how many, like what the value is on each increment. Maybe you could pass that increment value as a prop, so each counter could have its own value, right? This is just kind of a good way to practice your React and JavaScript skills, right? With, you know, it's kind of a contained project, right? So it's a good place to just test ideas out, you know? And anyway, thanks for watching, and then we'll continue in the next video, and we'll start a new homework assignment and a new project, okay? So have a great day.